Over the summer, I lived in Taipei, and my apartment was about 4 blocks away from a really popular night market. One night, the 6 of us students walked on a street near the night market that was completely empty. It was just the sounds of our feet hitting the pavement as we walked along a very empty street. The lights were all off. There was an occasional moped that passed us, with murmuring and puttering along. We could hear voices in the distance, residents of Taipei, and from far away we could hear the sound of the street, a really busy street. Horns honking and mopeds buzzing and cars rushing by, and pedestrians. So as we approached the night market, there were already vendors on the street talking about what they were selling in Chinese, listing all the choices that they could offer. Lots of groups of friends were passing by and excitedly chattering about what they were doing and what they were buying. We entered the night market and immediately were engulfed by large groups of people. There were clothing markets that were booming out pop music and really deep bass.
How do you spell or visualize
the shuffling of lots of feet along the concrete as we approached the vendors. We could hear the frying of meat, the sizzling of vegetables, the steaming of vegetables and fish, the sound of ice moving around in a bucket, vendors yelling prices, lots of Chinese everywhere, very sharp sounds. The sounds of my friends either speaking loudly in my ear because of the noise or saying, "I'm going over here, I'll meet you at the end." We were packed in tightly and looking at all the faces and all the goods that were being sold and the jewelry clinking and the money being exchanged and the paper dollars and the clinking coins. Right at the end there was a famous dumpling vendor just so we could hear them sizzling and clinking of chopsticks and rustling of the paper bags and boxes as the vendors were putting dumplings into these containers and yelling out prices and yelling out names of people that had just bought them or walked away. There's so many faces, and we finally left. We passed the last food vendor and heard the last clinks of chopsticks on bowls and the last shouts of food vendors, and we burst out on the other side of the street and started walking in a much quieter neighborhood. It was a busier street passing by, so there were lots of cars rushing by. Smaller groups of people tapping by on the concrete. There were conversations. There were lots of pedigreed cats and dogs in the windows, the little metal cages pressed up against the glass, and there were 2 or 6 of them in a cage. I could vaguely hear through the glass the sound of them rustling around in cages, tapping on glass. People walking by and saying, "Oh, how cute!" Every window had little cats and dogs in these cages as we walked by, blocks of them, and none of these animals had voices. And so really loud music was playing. I could hear people yelling and laughing and screaming and shrieking, singing along, yelling at their friends, yelling conversation at each other over this really loud, thunderous pop music, and said, like, "What the hell are you doing? Like, stop talking to my friends. I didn't ask to see you here." And I was yelling louder than the normal conversational yelling. So there was that noise on top of this distracting loud pop music and the creak of the stands that everyone was dancing on, the sound of other people yelling, but I think he might have like laughed at me a little bit, and so my yelling was just getting louder. None of them could tell their story. I remember hearing my shoes scuffle against the bark, the sound of my hand gripping the branches as I climbed up, rustle of the leaves, the snagging sound as I slipped, and the rush as I fell down the tree, and a sort of scraping noise as the back of my leg slid down the bark and ripped open, and the thud as I hit the ground. I couldn't hear them through the glass. None of them could tell their story.
And I hear sneakers come up behind me, like we're tossing, so I remember sneaker noise. And then most distinctly though is my own voice yelling, "Get the fuck off me, you motherfucker, I will fucking kill you." And he ran away, and so I hear another sound of booking sneakers.
None of them could tell their story.
And I was just hearing music that we were playing, and then the driver gasped. It was like a big thud. And then the tires screeched a little bit, and then there was another like bang as we hit the guardrail. And then I also heard my friend say, "Oh my God." And then it was kind of just like all aftermath sounds of like people like getting out of the car.
None of them could tell their story. I couldn't hear them through the glass. They were sleeping or playing or eating. I didn't think they were that cute. The more I looked at them, the more I wanted to throw up. So the 6 of us turned off the street and went back home.